In 1976, Yoon Sang-ai lived in Seoul, South Korea with her parents, identical twin sister, and older brother. In June of that year, her grandmother came to visit them from her home in the countryside. One day, she took the twins to Namdaemun Market. Not used to being in such a large city, she lost her sense of direction and became disoriented. In her confusion, she lost her two granddaughters. The family, with the help of the police, began an extensive search for the girls. One of the twins, Yoon Sang-hee, was found in Seoul 3 days after she and her sister went missing, but Sang-ai was no longer with her. The family continued searching for her, posting flyers, appearing on television asking for help, and visiting orphanages around Seoul, in case she had been found and taken to one of them. All of their efforts failed to locate Sang-ai. The family eventually opened a clothing store in the same market where Sang-ai went missing, in hopes she would come back to the area where she was lost. Lee Young-sun, Sang-ai's mother, would look at every child who passed by the store, checking to see if they were her lost daughter. As an adult, Sang-ai's older brother, Yoon Sang-myung, opened a lottery ticket shop, also in the same market. Sang-ai's entire family was distraught over her disappearance, but it took the most serious toll on her father. He withdrew from the rest of his family, barely speaking to his wife, and developed a serious drinking problem as a result of the loss of his daughter. His drinking eventually resulted in him developing severe liver disease, which he died of in 2000. His final words were about his missing daughter. She was the dearest. In 2017, Lee Young-sun went to the police to have a sample of her DNA taken, in hopes that it would somehow help her find her daughter, whom she still believed was alive, even more than 40 years after her disappearance. In 2020, she received a phone call from the police, informing her that her DNA had matched with a woman living in the United States, and that they believed that this woman was Sang-ai, but further testing would be required to confirm her identity. The woman was Denise McCarty of Springfield, Vermont. She had been adopted from South Korea on Christmas Eve of 1976. Her family had been told by the agency she was adopted through that she had been abandoned at a hospital in the city of Suwon, approximately 20 miles south of Seoul, because she had been sick. Denise visited South Korea in 2016, and during her trip, she submitted a DNA sample as a part of a new government program designed to help adoptees find their birth families. The program had been expanded in January of 2020, allowing adoptees to undergo DNA testing at any South Korean mission around the world, rather than requiring them to travel to South Korea to do so. Denise was able to visit the Korean Consulate General office in Boston to submit her DNA for the additional tests, which confirmed on September 25, 2020, that she was Yoon Sang-ai. Due to the pandemic, Denise was unable to meet with her birth family in person, but she was reunited with her mother, twin sister, and older brother over a video call with the assistance of an interpreter on October 14, 2020, more than 44 years after her disappearance. Denise's grandmother had also passed away since she went missing, but Denise felt as though she, as well as her birth father, were there with the rest of the family for the reunion in spirit. During the call, Yoon Sang-hee told her sister that they all loved her and had never abandoned her. Rather, they had spent every day looking for her. Lee Young-sun showed her the paperwork that still formally lists her as her daughter in Korea. While it is still unclear how she ended up so far away from where she went missing and who brought her to the hospital in Suwon, Denise is happy to have a better understanding of where she came from. Furthermore, as an adoptee, growing up with family members who did not look like her, she was amazed to see her mother and brother, who share a physical resemblance with her, and her identical twin, who looks just like her. She was also shocked to hear her sister speak in a voice that sounds just like hers, and learn that their similarities extend even to things like their tastes in colors and foods. I can't describe how happy I am. I feel like dancing all the time. Sleepless nights, thick with grief, are gone now. I am so happy and I can't wait to see her in person, Lee Young-sun told the Korea Times after her video reunion with Denise. She is grateful to the family that adopted her for raising her so well and looks forward to meeting them one day so that she can thank them in person. Denise feels fortunate to have such a large family that loves her, related to her through both blood and adoption. I've just got this huge family now that loves me and that I love, she told her local news station. You can't be happier than that. You can't ask for more than that. She hopes to be able to reunite with her birth family in person once travel restrictions are lifted, and plans for her adoptive family to join her, so that both sides of her family can meet each other. Denise is beginning to learn Korean, and Sang-hee is learning English, in an effort to eliminate the language barrier that currently limits the communication between Denise and her biological family. For now, the family stays in contact through an app that translates their messages to each other for them. 54-year-old Michael Anthony Lynch, who went by Tony, was a married father of 4 young children. In late 2001, he left his home in Magravili, in County Fermanagh, in Northern Ireland, and moved into an apartment in Clones, in Western County Monaghan, in the Republic of Ireland, for work. He was reported missing 2 months later, in January of 2002, when he stopped reporting to work. The ensuing investigation found that the last sighting of Tony had occurred on January 6, 2002, on Fermanagh Street in Clones, several days before he was reported missing. When Tony's wife Angela went to the apartment he had been staying in, everything he owned appeared to still be there. It seemed to her that he had run out on a brief errand, and simply never returned. Few clues were found in the ensuing years. In April of 2016, a man reported a possible sighting of Tony, believing a hitchhiker he had given a ride to could have been the missing man. However, nothing ever came of this tip. In January of 2020, around the 18th anniversary of Tony's disappearance, authorities announced a renewed effort in the case. Tony's car, a white Mitsubishi Galant, had gone missing with him and had never been located. This led authorities to hypothesize that Tony had ended up in a body of water while driving, and had never been found because he and his vehicle could not be seen from the surface. They hoped that advances in drone and sonar technology that had been made in the almost 2 decades since Tony vanished would help locate him and his vehicle. They also made a renewed appeal to the public for information in the case. Because Tony disappeared so close to the border of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, both the Police Service of Northern Ireland and the Gardaí were involved in the search. Civil defense from multiple counties also participated. The new searches began with a 2-week search of 16 lakes and flooded quarries near Clones in early January. No sign of Tony was found. Similar searches throughout the area were planned for throughout the rest of 2020, but they had to be suspended in March due to the pandemic, without finding Tony or his car. However, the appeal to the public would ultimately result in answers in Tony's case. On May 18, 2020, a fisherman noticed an anomaly with his sonar equipment while he was out on Upper Lake Earn in County Fermanagh. He believed it was some sort of large submerged object, and was aware that authorities had been looking for a submerged vehicle as a part of a missing persons investigation. He notified the Clones Garda station of what he had found. An underwater search was underway by 2 o'clock that afternoon and identified the object as a submerged vehicle. It was pulled from the water and found to be Tony Lynch's Mitsubishi Galant. Human remains were inside of it. DNA would later confirm that they belonged to Tony Lynch. His remains were returned to the Lynch family, and they were finally able to provide him with a proper burial. It was nice once Dad was found again. Then everybody wanted to talk to you about him. And it's great that now there is a grave to go to. I never thought we'd have that, Tony's son Peter said on December 2nd, 2020, Ireland's 8th National Missing Persons Day. Peter also said that his family cannot thank the fisherman who called in what he had seen with his sonar equipment enough, and that they wish that their story and its eventual resolution will inspire hope in other families of people who have gone missing, who do not yet have answers about what became of their loved one. Jerry Holbert was reported missing on August 4th, 2003. It was believed at the time that he had walked from his home in Charleston, West Virginia, to a nearby bus station, with plans to visit his son in Cambridge, Ohio, approximately 130 miles north of Charleston. He never arrived there. His family was immediately concerned, as the 64-year-old was beginning to suffer from dementia. Little progress was made in the case over the following years, despite the best efforts of Jerry's family, whose efforts were largely focused on searching for him in Ohio, where he was believed to be traveling. Jerry's case would finally be solved thanks to the efforts of a volunteer, 17 years after he went missing. Patty Williams Childress is a retired social worker who now devotes her time to investigating missing persons cases and unidentified remains through various volunteer organizations and websites, including the DNA Doe Project. In the summer of 2020, Who Are You Doe, a Facebook group dedicated to researching cases involving unidentified remains, posted the story of a John Doe found in Kingsport, Tennessee in August of 2003. On August 11th, a woman had been riding her bicycle through Riverfront Park when she noticed something unusual in the Holston River, which police confirmed to be human remains. There was no identification found with them, just a bank envelope in the pocket of the pair of pants found with them, containing $267. The remains were too badly decomposed due to their time in the water for them to be useful in their identification on their own. A clay model forensic rendering of the deceased man's face was commissioned to help with his identification. Various leads were followed up on over the ensuing years. A forensic drawing was also created in 2018. However, the man found in the river was still unidentified 17 years later, when his story and the forensic artistic renderings were shared in the Facebook group and attracted Patty's attention. Normally, Patty limited her research to within a 25-mile radius of where an unidentified person was found, but the bank envelope told her that she would need to expand her search. The envelope had been from BB&T Bank, which did not have any locations in Kingsport in 2003, meaning the man was not from the immediate area. She found Jerry's case through another site she was active with and informed police in Kingsport of similarities between him and their John Doe. They agreed that the remains could potentially be Jerry's and began investigating this lead. They then spoke with a relative of Jerry's back in West Virginia and obtained a DNA sample from them to compare to the DNA of their John Doe. In early August of 2020, near the 17th anniversary of Jerry's disappearance, police announced that DNA testing had confirmed that the remains found in the Holston River belonged to Jerry Holbert. Jerry's daughter Misty told WSAZ News that she had been holding on to hope of finding her father alive. She was grateful, however, to finally have answers about what happened to her father. She contacted Patty Williams Childress to personally express the gratitude she and her family feel for the work she did to finally bring resolution to the case. It is not known exactly what brought Jerry to Kingsport, which is in the opposite direction of where he was planning to go in Ohio, but his family believes that he must have gotten onto the wrong bus as a result of his dementia. Police do not believe that foul play is involved in the case.